Men of Glengormley Methodist, hello, and thank you for inviting me. I was going to say to come along and speak to you tonight. I'm not really coming along, I'm speaking to a camera, and hopefully you're watching it at some other stage, but it's the next best thing until we're able to be together in the same place at the same time. So thank you for your invitation. I have lots of great memories of Thursday nights in Men Only, with some great food, some great fellowship and crack, and normally a great speaker to listen to as well. So thank you for your invitation to take part in this way. I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to see you again in the future. I want to leave a short thought with you tonight. And if you are anything like me as a football fan, I'm going to leave 3 letters with you that probably will strike fear into your heart, as it does with my own. 3 letters, and I'm sure you'll know what they're all about. VAR. Yes, Video Assistant Referee. Now, the weekend was the latest in a long line, I think, of controversies that surround VAR with the Video Assistant Referee. This particular incident at the weekend was one where Scott McTominay was accused of this heinous foul or crime, literally barely touched Son of Tottenham, but goal was ruled out because of it. All Man United fans will be greatly relieved to know that you had a great second half and it didn't really affect the result of the match. But we all, well, most of us, I think, have had our fill of VAR. You know, whenever we think of VAR, sometimes we imagine, or maybe I imagine, this kind of room-sized computer that's churning out these decisions, this kind of faceless machine that is making decisions on a football match somewhere far away. But, you know, whenever we think about it, that's not really what's happening. What's happening is we're getting someone else's take on events, aren't we? We're getting someone else's view on how they see things. Another qualified referee somewhere far away from the match itself, speaking probably to the referees on the pitch, advising them if there's been a clear and obvious error made, or asking them to come and look at a monitor beside the pitch. But really, what VAR is all about is how someone else sees things. And, you know, whenever I thought about this at the weekend, or after seeing what I saw in the Tottenham-Manchester United match, it made me think about a particular passage in John's Gospel. Maybe think of the passage in John 11, where Mary and Martha call Jesus. They call Jesus because their brother Lazarus is sick. They ask him to come because they know he is capable of healing Lazarus. Now, elsewhere in the Gospels, these are normally 2 very different people, Mary and Martha. Remember when Jesus came to their house and shared a meal with them? One was busy in the kitchen and around the house because of all the work that needed done, all the hospitality that needed to be shown. The other was at his feet, listening and taking in what Jesus had to say. And that reminds us that normally they are 2 very different people, and they maybe see things differently in most parts of their lives. But this day, how they saw things was exactly the same. Because Jesus delays. He doesn't come, he doesn't arrive in Bethany while Lazarus is sick. He deliberately stops and he waits. And as he waits, Lazarus has died. In fact, Lazarus is in the tomb by the time that Jesus comes. And we know that the 2 sisters see things the same way this day because of what they say. They both say, as Jesus arrives, if only. Jesus, if only you had come sooner. Jesus, if only you had got here earlier, my brother, our brother, would not have died. How they saw things that day really was the same. But what does Jesus say as he arrives in Bethany that day? Well, he says something that is completely central to how we understand him. He says something in John 11, verse 25, that reveals exactly who he is. This is what he says. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, and even though they die, whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? See, this statement that Jesus makes, this way of revealing himself, this can completely change how we see things. This can completely change how we see life, how we understand life itself. How with faith in Jesus we can understand our lives. How with faith in Jesus we can understand even a little bit more of what's going on around about us, even what we have come through this past year, even these difficult and frustrating times that we are living in. Because Jesus says that he is the resurrection and the life. That means that it gives us hope, not only for the future, not only for that time whenever, like Lazarus, we will pass from this life to the next, but it gives us hope for here and for now. Because this resurrection and this life that Jesus talks about isn't just a future for the hope, or it isn't just a hope for the future, rather. It is a hope for the present. It is a way of living our lives now. It is a way of understanding our lives now, that we can trust in him, that we can trust that he is in control of all things, even life and death, as we trust in him. I wonder how you see that. I wonder, is it a little bit like VAR? Maybe 10 different people will look at it and 10 different people will think maybe different things. Or do you look at it and understand what Jesus is saying? That he is the resurrection and the life, both the hope for the future, but also the hope for our lives right here and right now as we put our hope and our trust in him. And Jesus doesn't just leave this as a statement hanging, doesn't he? But he leaves it with a question. He leaves that statement in verse 25 with a question mark. Do you believe this? He isn't asking if we know about it. He isn't asking if we've heard about it. He isn't asking if we go to church even sometimes to hear about it. He doesn't want to know if we have the details memorized. He's asking you and he's asking me if we believe this, if we believe in this, if we trust in him, if we will allow this to change how we see things, our lives. Sometimes we shrug our shoulders, don't we? Well, I'll think about that when I'm older, as kind of men tend to do. But Jesus is asking that question. He's asking you that question. And he's asking me that question. Do you believe in this? And of course, how John 11 ends, it tells us, it gives us proof of what Jesus has just said, doesn't it? He goes on to raise Lazarus from the dead. If ever we needed proof, he goes on and he shows it to us as he raises Lazarus, as he calls him out of the tomb, as he raises him from the dead. I am the resurrection and the life, Jesus says. How do you see this? Do you believe in this?